Ms. Cheryl Chan.
Mr. Speaker, members have shared concerns about the impact of the ongoing pandemic on our HDB BTO supply, the progress of construction work, and waiting times for ongoing projects. Let me address these concerns and set out what we are doing to keep our HDB BTO program on track and to support affected home buyers.
Minister, you are taking question 2 and 3 together.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, my apologies.
Right, thank you.
If I may have your permission to take
Yes,
questions
please.
2 and 3 together. Thank you. First, Mr. Seah Keng Peng had asked if HDB will build more BTO flats or advanced planned projects in view of demand. We recognize that demand for public housing has remained strong, and that is why we had adjusted our supply. We had launched 14,600 flats in 2019. We increased that to 16,800 in 2020. We are on track to launch 17,000 BTO flats this year in 2021. Next year, we will increase the BTO flat supply even further and launch more than 17,000 flats. We are finalizing the details and will announce our plans for 2022 when ready. Second, there have been concerns over the waiting times for BTO flats, as raised by Ms. Cheryl Chan. Some have said that waiting times have risen to 6 to 7 years. That is not the case. Let me start with ongoing BTO projects. The average waiting time for ongoing BTO projects, including delays brought about by the pandemic, has remained between 4 to 5 years. Thus far, government's support and assistance measures have helped to keep the pandemic-induced delays to our BTO projects to a year or less, except for one project which has already experienced project difficulties unrelated to the pandemic. The total wait time for any given project has been kept under 6 years. For BTO projects launched last year and this year, the estimated waiting times range from 3 to 5.5 years. For example, Aokang Citrine, launched in August, is expected to be completed in 3 years. Alcove Breeze in Bidadari, launched in February, has a wait time of just over 3 years, and Garden Court at Tengah, launched last November, has a waiting time of about 3.5 years. There are some projects that will take longer, such as Queen's Ark, launched in August this year, expected to take longer at about 5.5 years. There are a few projects like Queen's Ark where the waiting times are longer. This is because the conditions of the site are difficult and construction will take longer, or these are projects with very high story heights, very tall blocks, which require more construction time. These have caused some people to worry that all new BTOs will take 6 to 7 years, but these are in the minority. By and large, barring further unexpected developments, most flat buyers can expect to move into their flats within 4 to 5 years after booking their flats. Third, the recent news on Great Earth's insolvency may have added to the anxieties of home buyers waiting for their flats to be completed, and some are concerned whether this puts the completion of their homes at risk. To try to minimize the impact on home buyers, HDB has brought new contractors on board within a month to take over Great Earth's affected projects. Unfortunately, this will still add a further 2 to 3 months delay to affected projects, but we are working closely with the new contractors to bring the projects back on track. We are watching the progress of all BTO projects closely and have stepped up efforts to detect emerging issues earlier and resolve them. Fourth, existing home buyers may be concerned about further delays to ongoing projects, given the impact of COVID-19 on the construction industry. With tightened border controls over foreign workers, disruptions in the supply of building material, and stringent worksite public health measures, there have been manpower and material shortages and a slowdown in work, which have affected public and private construction projects. To try to mitigate the pandemic's impact on our public housing program, HDB has rolled out extensive assistance to help contractors complete ongoing projects in a timely manner. To tackle manpower shortages, HDB has worked with firms to safely recruit workers from various countries and co-share the increase in manpower costs. HDB has also worked with contractors to explore ways to speed up construction without affecting safety and quality. To minimize work stoppages due to COVID-19 transmission, we have implemented antigen rapid testing, or ART, on top of rostered routine testing at work sites. This allows members of the construction workforce who have been infected to be picked up and treated early, and close contacts quarantined swiftly. Work sites can then continue operating as long as workers are on the ART regime. To help with the higher costs of material, HDB has extended the period of protection against steel price fluctuation and supplied contractors with more concreting material at protected prices. This is in addition to the extensive government support provided through the Job Support Scheme, construction restart grants, legislative interventions, advance payments, sharing of prolongation costs and manpower cost increases, and foreign worker levy rebates. While the pandemic has inevitably caused delay to both private and public sector construction projects, including BTO projects, we will continue to do our best to minimize the extent of the delays. HDB has also taken steps to support affected home buyers. We have helped some flat buyers secure interim accommodation and will be increasing the supply of flats under the Parenthood Provisional Housing Scheme by 800 units over the next 2 years. For low-income households with no family support and no other housing option, HDB will consider offering interim rental housing, or IRH, on a case-by-case basis. Flat buyers who face delay that exceed the delivery possession date, or DPD, will be compensated at the amount and for the period as set out in the COVID-19 Temporary Measures Act, or COTMA, which applies to all developers. We will also consider waiving flat booking forfeitures and the 1-year wait-out period based on the flat buyer's circumstances, such as for flat buyers who choose to cancel their BTO flats due to BTO delays and buy a resale flat to meet urgent housing needs. Even amidst the ongoing pandemic, we are committed to delivering public housing to Singaporeans. With these measures, we will press on to keep our BTO program on track and support buyers who may be affected by the delays.
Ms. Cheryl Chan. No more than 2 PQs. SQs, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just one. I want to thank Minister for detailing all the measures that's put in place to ensure the BTO projects will continue in construction, and also the fact that, to clarify the dates, because I've heard a lot of feedback on this aspect. So the question I want to ask the Minister is, because just now you mentioned that progressively there will be more BTOs that will be pushed out, even beyond 17,000 over time. Given the fact that there's also a very vibrant resale market currently, how is the ministry going to balance, between the resale market, just to make sure that the prices are still healthy, and also the future BTO flats in place? Thank you.
I thank the member for the question. We continue to keep a close eye on the property market in general, both the private sector as well as the HDB resale market. There are a range of reasons why demand for housing is high. First, of course, this is the echo boomer generation, family formation rates, marriage, and the desire for housing and their own homes is one. Second, the pressures of the pandemic, work from home, changes that we've had to adapt and adjust to, have caused people to want more space in general. And so both first-timers as well as even second-timers wanting a bigger place. Thirdly, of course, interest rates being as low as they are have enabled people to be able to consider housing options. Then, of course, the stresses and strains on the construction sector, the delays in both BTO as well as private housing projects have caused some people who need homes to consider the resale market, both in the HDB resale as well as the private resale market for private properties. And of course, the social trends that have been taking place over the years and decades, the desire for more space, for more privacy, for more nuclearized families rather than three-generation families, more singles desiring their own homes and own spaces. These, of course, add on to the desire by people to have homes and exacerbated by this pandemic. So for the first-time home buyers, we'll be pushing out even more BTO flats next year and in future years to ensure that their housing needs are met. As I said earlier, we'll push out more than 17,000 flats next year, more than what we've launched or going to launch this year. At the same time, for the resale market, we've provided significant grants to help people afford homes in the resale market if they need to. And for those who cannot wait longer for the BTO flats and need to move to a resale flat because of urgent family needs, we will consider their appeals for waiver of forfeiture for their BTO flats on a case-by-case basis and be sympathetic to their housing needs.
Mrs. Xia?
Sir, first I want to thank Minister for the mitigating measures that will be introduced. I also welcome the news that there will be more flats that will be built in the coming years. He mentioned more than 17,000. I am quite sure I'm not alone in this house, where many of us each week we continue to receive many requests and appeals from residents appealing that they just can't get their flat early enough. They can't even have a chance of getting a flat. So I believe that it is the desired outcomes for all of us must be that we want to give couples their first flat as early as possible. So we need to continue to shorten the waiting time. 4 or 5 years, can it be shorter? Because there is really a lot of pent-up demand. So my first request is that more than 17,000. What is the max that we could go up to? Because to meet the pent-up demand, because demand clearly outstrips supply right now. How can we shorten the waiting time? And there are also concerns. There are also concerns by residents that whilst waiting for their flat, some of them, their income ceilings may, whilst waiting, be such that it exceeds and therefore they are disqualified. How do we deal with this? And finally, again, another concern is that as they wait for the flat, the price of the flat will start to also go up, that the affordability level could be in question. So my plea to the Minister is that I am quite sure, I don't have the figures obviously, but I'm quite sure demand far outstrips supply. Let's increase the supply as much as possible to reduce the waiting time and keep and fulfill residents, couples' desire for a flat earlier rather than later. Thank you.
Indeed, I think the member's points are well taken. As I said earlier, we will increase the supply of BTO flats next year to a number larger than 17,000 that we've launched this year. We have been increasing the BTO flat supply for some years already. For example, in 2019, it was 14,600. Last year, it was 16,008. This year, 17,000. Next year will be more than that. We balance that against the supply in the resale market. As I said, demand is high for a whole variety of reasons, but we have to keep an eye on the overall ecosystem of housing, both public and private, BTO and resale, to ensure that the overall housing ecosystem remains stable while meeting the aspirations of Singaporeans.
Mr. Liang Eng Hua?
Thank you, sir. So, Minister in his reply mentioned about the PPHS earlier on that for young couples who are still waiting for the flats may want to consider PPHS. But from my indications and from the appeals that we receive, it seems that the rental flats under PPHS are not so forthcoming, and there's still some amount waiting there as well. So can I ask the Minister what's the availability of all these of the rental flats for under the PPHS scheme, whether there's enough to meet those demand or requests from the new home buyers?
Well, PPHS provides home buyers with an option if they wish to stay on their own before their flats are ready. These are for married couples, especially with children. The demand for PPHS has grown significantly because of the pandemic, arising from the BTO delays, as well as the desire for more privacy. And therefore, they're waiting for their flats. They want to get PPHS. To make sure that we target the PPHS supply to those who need such housing, because of their limited housing options, we made some moves in August this year to target such support to those with household income of below $7,000 and prioritizing those with children. So that way, we hope to ensure that those with the more urgent housing needs while waiting for their BTO flats can get support. For those with no family support and no housing options, we have other alternatives, such as IRH. And we continue to see how better we can support families who have been impacted by the delays during this period. Mr. Seah Kemping mentioned earlier, if I take this opportunity to address him, he did ask a question that I omitted to reply, which is regards to the income ceiling, as well as those who may feel that with a longer wait for housing, the risk of them busting the income ceiling is there. We've made some changes to income ceiling in the last few years and continue to review the household incomes of home applicants to ensure that it meets the needs of Singaporeans. And when people apply for the flats, they book their flats and they get the housing loan eligibility as well as their grant eligibility at point of application, and therefore the delays in waiting for flats that they've already booked, there will be less impact on that front.